Okay, so it's finally gotten cooler. We finally have a change of season. So in this change of season, I'm going to work on keeping my joints nice and flexible and moving and kind of juicy. So that's what we're going to do today. But before we get started, I want to reiterate the vision, the thing that we're really going for here. So we're not about improving our lifespan. We have no idea what's coming. We only know that we have this moment. So we want to improve our health span. We want to continue to maintain or even improve our balance, our strength, our flexibility, and the all-important equanimity, that ability to be okay with whatever's going on around us. So it's a journey, and remember, you're always almost home. Got to practice again tomorrow, but we will get going. So we might want to have a chair. If it's easier for you to use a chair for some poses, you can do them against the wall. You could do some laying on your back. Just want to keep those joints moving, right? I have a blanket and a yoga bolster. So I'm going to show you at the end how to roll up a blanket and a bolster, or a blanket and a mat, so that you can use it like a bolster. Got a couple of blocks. You might want to use hardback books taped together. That works as well. So we are going to get started on the ground. So here we go. Okay, so we're in a nice, easy seated position. I want to start by just taking a few breaths, right? So maybe resting your hands, palms facing down on your knees. Drop your chin slightly so that it's parallel to the floor. Take your shoulders up, back, and down, opening up that chest. And then just simply inhale and exhale with the eyes closed, in through the nose and out through the nose. Maybe noticing the tight places in your body and sending your exhales there. And as you start to tune into the inhales, expanding the ribcage in all directions, front, back, and side to side. And as your mind starts to quiet, you might want to set an intention for this practice. One more deep inhale. And exhale. And we're going to start seated just by gently warming the spine, right? So inhale, get really, really tall. And as you exhale, twist to one side. One hand rests behind you, the other on the knee. Then inhale, get tall. Exhale, go to the other side. So love that Chick-fil-A commercial. Just keep moving, where the girl says, if home had a taste, it would be macaroni and cheese. Well, I think that if home had a yoga pose, it would be Savasana, that most important pose at the end, but we got to do the movement before we get there, right? It's a journey. Good. And then we're going to take a little side bend. So resting one hand on the mat, reach up really tall. Maybe take your hand a little further away, and as you exhale, gaze down at your thumb and just stretch out that side body. Soften the legs. Inhaling, come back up through center, and exhaling, we'll go right to the other side, right? Might notice a difference from one side to the other. Just breathe into it. No judgment. Good, inhaling, come on back up. So I'm going to plant my knees kind of wide here. I'll go sideways so that you can see what my hips are doing. So if your hips are loose, you could just come off the block. I'm going to stay on it, right? So my feet are as wide as the edges of the mat, right? I'm going to hold the backs of my thighs, and if it's okay with your spine, you're going to exhale, pull your low belly in. Inhaling, lift your chest, puff it out. Maybe flex your feet as you do that, right? And exhaling, release. You can even lift your heels, point your toes. And inhaling, starting to use the muscles of the feet. I can really feel that in my arches, right? Roll through to the toes. Inhale, pull up into the heels. Maybe even take your elbows out, making yourself big and round like a ball. And then squeeze your elbows in and back. Nice. And we'll just take an easy Baddha Konasana, so soles of the feet together, knees dropping down. Just take your chest forward. There's no need to round over. You gently rest your hands on your knees. Feel that hip start to open. Good. And then inhaling, gently release. Good. So our knees, they stretch a little bit, but not a ton, right? So you need to be able to recognize the difference between like a stretch that's subsiding the longer you stay in, the tight sensation, and sharp pain, right? We don't want any sharp pain. So I'm going to come into a modified hero pose, right? I'm going to turn my block a little narrower so that my knees can come a little closer together. And I'm going to sit down slowly and gently on that block. Now the whole time, you could maybe tuck your hips inside your heels if your knees are nice and loose and open, your hips are open. Or you could stack blocks. You don't have to do this. If you were sitting in a chair, you could just tuck your feet under you, right, behind you. The whole time we're doing this, we're drawing our pelvic floor up and in, squeezing the inner thighs together, right? So hero pose. Inhale, take your arms up to the sky. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart. And just see if you can soften in the knees. Use that Ujjayi breath. Use those low belly muscles. Nice. And then we're going to come off the block, sit to one side, and safely roll down onto the back. Right. So here my heels are close to my hips. I can touch them with my fingertips. I'm going to push my upper arms into the mat and take a little bridge pose. I'm going to feel that in my quads probably, if your quads are tight. So this is a good stretch as well. Part of keeping our knees healthy is keeping the muscles around them all stretched out. So we'll be here for a few breaths. Maybe it would feel good to keep your palms facing up. Maybe it would feel good to interlace your hands behind you. Maybe it would feel good to take your arms overhead. Start to check in with your shoulders. Effort where you need. Push into the big toe mound. Relax where you can, like the jaw. Nice. And exhaling, gently release down. I'm going to stretch one leg out on the mat. I'm going to take the other leg, and this is like a tree pose. It's the Bikram style. Okay, again, this is working on the knee, so if you can't get your heel all the way up to your groin, you could lower it down a little bit and just make the number 4, right? But my goal is to hold on to my foot and get my knee to drop open. So eventually, maybe my knees would be in line with one another. I'm going to go ahead and flex that foot that's straight out, just like I'm standing on the floor, and keep the back of my neck long. And use my muscle energy to take that knee toward the floor. And then we're going to try this standing. So whatever tree pose you choose, you get another chance in a different shape. Keep the tailbone long. One more little push. Nice. Then inhaling, gently release. Draw that knee into the chest. Make some circles with the ankle. Right. And then let that go. Good. So then we'll take the other knee again. You might just make a number 4 and let the weight of the leg open the hip up. Or You could reach for the toe, so try and keep your foot in line with the shin. That'll help protect the knee as well. So ballerina pointing the toe, and then drop that knee open. Maybe there's a difference from one side to the other, right? Lengthen the extended leg and just breathe. Nice, and then release the foot. Draw that knee into the chest, make some circles with the ankle. Then draw both knees into the chest. Maybe rock from side to side a little bit. Good, plant the knees. You're gonna roll to one side. Come on, back up. Maybe one more time, we'll sit on the heels. So this time my heels are squeezing together underneath my hips. Pull your low belly in, lifting your spine up off your legs. Nice. And then we're going to come safely to standing, right? So here's the way we do that. So you take one leg forward, knee right over the ankle, right? Curl those back toes under. You could always be using a chair to hold on to or a block. Then you're going to scoot that back leg to meet the front. I like to do this with a flat back, reaching the crown of the head out long, like a little mini chair pose to fire up your quads. And then inhale, come on to standing. Nice. So we're going to work on Tadasana a little bit, right? So feet are about 2 fist widths apart. Open your fingers wide, lift your toes, spread them wide, and then lay them down. So mountain pose. If I came to push you over, you would be nice and firm, thigh bones rotating inward, low belly zipped up, tailbone dropping down, reaching up through the crown of the head. And then bring your hands to your heart center. So one of the things about our knee joint, especially if we're starting to develop a little bit of arthritis as we get older, is motion is lotion. So yoga poses, the static yoga poses where we hold them, is going to push all that synovial fluid around the bones and ligaments into the corners of the joint, and that's going to help reduce the inflammation. So I'm going to turn my toes out. You can see I've got a heel to arch alignment. I'm going to exhale, take my knees right over the middle of the foot. I can still see the big toe. So just get a little motion going, right? Inhaling, exhaling down. This next time we're going to exhale and stay. Inhale your arms out. Turn your palms facing up. And then keep your upper arms turned upward and just rotate your hands down, your lower arms down. Feel that openness in your chest. Right, so the goal would maybe eventually get a little wider and drop deeper till our front thigh gets parallel to the ground. Good. Inhaling, come on back up. Go right to the other side. So turn those toes in, the other toes out. Couple of breaths, exhaling and inhaling. Being nice and fluid, juicy in the joints. We'll stay. Get big and strong and wide. Turn those palms facing up. And then just rotate the upper arms down. Nice. Inhaling. Turn those toes in. So we're going to pigeon toe ourselves a little bit. Lift your chest. Exhaling. Fold forward with a flat back. So you might want to have a block or that stack of books. Or rest your hands on your thighs or your shin. If it's okay with your body to fold all the way over, bringing your forehead toward the ground and your hands under your shoulders. Try that for a few breaths. Maybe nod your head yes. Shake your head no. And come back to that intention that you set. Soften the knees, hands on the thighs, just like before, reaching the crown of the head out long. And then heel toe your way in. Nice and safely coming back to standing. So we're going to work on that tree pose. I'm going to hold my foot in that Bikram style. You could hold the wall, right? You could be holding onto a chair. You could have your back right up against the wall. You can put your foot on your calf, your foot on your inner thigh, or again, you can grab your foot in the Bikram style, right? Just don't want to fall. So finding one place to rest your gaze, choose your pose. Make sure you're ballerina pointing the foot, so don't let the toes come up towards your nose. And open up that hip, drop that knee down. Feel that nice gentle stretch. Use your gaze settled on one thing that's not moving. Get a little taller. And exhaling, gently release. Step it out. We'll get ready to go to the other side. Try and do the same thing on both sides, right? So cultivating confidence, stability, quiet mind. Wobbling's okay. You're strengthening the ankles. And exhaling, gently release. Nice. Okay. Make some wrist circles with your wrists. So we've done a little hip work, a little knee work, worked on the ankles a little and feet a little bit. We're going to come back down to the mat, work on our shoulders. Okay? So same thing, coming down safely. Right? You're going to bend your knees, hands to the floor or a block or a chair. Take one leg way back in high lunge. Float it down. And here we are. Okay. So remember I said I was going to show you how to roll up a mat in a blanket to make a bolster. So this is a trick. I like to fold when I'm folding up my mat. Fold it on the top side on itself so it stays clean where you lay on it. And then the part against the floor stays on itself. And if you fold it, starting at the fold and leave the loose ends open, then you don't get that curly cue at the base of your mat. So you could do that. You could just use the mat, or you could fold a blanket over it, right? And you're going to get a little bit, it's going to feel a little bit more like a bolster. Right, so if you have that, you're going to place it on your mat and take your hips kind of close to it, maybe 4 or 6 inches away, and then you would roll yourself down onto it. You want to be sure that your head is on the end of the mat or a block or something. Right, or you can use the yoga bolster. So I'm going to grab my yoga bolster. You could use a couple of pillows, bed pillows. Anything to get a nice little opening in your spine and to give room to work the shoulders a little bit. Right. So you can keep your knees bent the whole time. That'll be a little easier on your low back. You can always tuck a blanket under your head. And we're just going to take our arms over our head and allow them to start to fold down. So depending on how thick your blanket or bolster is, or open your shoulders are, your hands might already touch the ground. So my shoulders are really tight. They're shaped kind of rounded forward, so this is really challenging for me. So we're just going to lay here and breathe. Cultivating equanimity, the ability to be quiet and okay no matter what's going on around us. Maybe holding elbow to elbow and getting a little more stretch in the triceps. Soften where you can. if it feels good. Change the grip on the elbow. Notice how that feels. Nice. So then I'm going to hold one wrist. I'm really going to draw my arm as close to the floor as I can. And then grab hold of the other wrist and do the same thing. Draw your shoulder blade toward your waist, even as you're taking your arm closer. So trusting the process, not necessarily looking for results. Gently release and let those arms open up one more time. And then take your arms out to the side like cactus arms and let your chest open up a little bit. So we're almost to the macaroni and cheese, right? That home yoga pose, Shavasana. So bring your hands to your belly. You could stay here, stretch your legs out for Shavasana if you like, or you can roll off your blanket or bolster mat and just roll yourself back onto the floor in a traditional Shavasana. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to slowly and gently roll myself off the prop. Move it out of the way. Grab this blanket for under my head. So don't cheat yourself out of this most important part. Move all the props, have your palms facing up, tuck your shoulder blades together. One more time, bring your intention to mind and then let that go. And just follow your breath. No need to move until you hear my voice again. So soften your jaw. Take the tongue off the roof of your mouth, letting it rest behind your bottom teeth. Inhale a couple more times as you wiggle your fingers and toes, maybe make some circles with your ankles and your wrists. Take a nice big overhead stretch. When you're ready, draw your knees into your chest. Maybe holding your shins and rocking from side to side again. So we'll gradually bring ourselves to a seated position, rolling to one side, using your hand and your top leg to propel you upward. So bringing your hands to your heart center, feel your spine really long. Share this wisdom from Martin Luther King Jr. Fly. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. Remember, it's a journey. The spirit in me honors the spirit in you. Thanks for practicing with me.
Namaste.